Bring us in, babe.
Welcome to
Coco Caliente.
Parents Edition. I'm happy to be back.
It's been a long time. For me, it feels like...
It does feel like a long time, but it kind of feels like riding a bike. Like, here I am again.
Yeah.
I can do this.
It's easy. It's just like our lives are totally different. Like
I feel like a different human being.
Absolutely.
When I got out of the shower like 10 minutes ago, I'm like, man, I'm like a mom. I feel like a mom. I'm like washing loads of laundry between like bringing home a blanket from the camper.
Let's
Normally,
say this laundry has poop on it, and that's why we were washing it because the baby had a blowout.
Okay, fine. Yes,
that's like a mom thing. That's what I mean.
That's fair. But I mean, I think the old me would have just been like, I'll get to it later.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I prioritize different things now, obviously. But I mean, even like this morning, I woke up at 7 in the camper, and I was like, hey, Grandma and Grandpa, you want to watch Arrow? And like laid them in bed, and then I was like, I got to clean up some stuff. I mean, I would have just been laying there and let people clean up for me.
You.
Yeah. So it's just like, I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, and just, I don't know, I guess parents that are already parents that are listening to this, like, yeah, your life changes, and everybody tells you before you get to this point, right?
Yeah, they
like,
do.
Oh, it's going to be different, it's going to be...
the best thing in the world.
It's going to be the best thing, but it's just, people give you all the forewarnings beforehand, but until you actually prepare for it, or until you're actually in it. Yeah, until you're actually in it, there's no way to describe it.
It's kind of exactly like when someone tells you in high school, these are, what do they say? They say, like, enjoy this.
It's one of the best moments in your life.
Because just, like, if I could go back knowing what I know now, I mean, I was stressed for silly reasons. And now I'm like, oh, my gosh, it's so carefree. The puppies are crying in the bedroom.
They'll be all right, though. The funny thing is we tried to do this podcast a couple days ago.
Yeah, we did.
And Arrow was in the house. And so...
like 9 p.m. at night.
Yeah, we were already tired from a long day. I had the air running because we got to keep the house cool for him, right? And so we had all that background noise. And then we tried to lay him down. And in the middle of the podcast, he started crying. Nicole had to breastfeed. And it was just a whole...
He burped up. Like a little
bit.
Yeah,
burped up and all this stuff, and we're like, oh, we gotta grandma.
His breastfeeding is not quiet.
Yeah. So today we have grandma watching baby Arrow, and so what Nicole wanted to do, and we need to find a name for it, and this is kind of how I want to start the episodes now, is with like a funny parenting story. You want to go get Paris? You can go grab her real quick,
grab her
and I'll
quick.
just explain.
Okay, go ahead.
So. Sorry, the dogs, they were, we were camping this weekend, and we had to put them in a kennel because they can't come to the campground, and they just got back, and we put them in the room, and they're crying because they want to hang out with us, so I guess Nicole's going to grab them. Hopefully they don't bark. But anyway, we want to do like a segment when we start as like little parenting stories. They could be, funny, serious, but overall relatable, right? Because now we're parents and we're going to tell these stories, and that something that you might have experienced similarly, but that we think is funny. So Nicole has one that she wants to start with. So go ahead, baby.
Okay, so my story, this is probably, I don't even know how old Arrow was, but one morning I decided to make Victor and I breakfast because he's been making breakfast most of the days. I, was breastfeeding on the chair 100% of the time and rarely can get up. So Victor would literally have to feed me every time I'd have to eat. But I was like, this time I was like, hey, I'm going to make us egg sandwiches. And he's like, okay, cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. And he was feeding Arrow, so through a bottle with breast milk. And then I am finally done with cooking these sandwiches. I plate them, and I spend a lot of time on them.
Yeah, they're like gourmet breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah, because
really
sometimes it's nice to just like get away. If you get in the kitchen, you kind of like want to spend some time there because you're like, oh, I get a break. And I hand Victor his sandwich, and he's like, oh, I think he pooped. So I'm like, okay, I'll go change him. And I go and change him, come back, hand him back to Victor, because he's just sitting on the chair while he's eating. And then I grab my sandwich, and I'm like I'm in front of the TV. I'm like, yes, I finally can sit down and enjoy this, because I spent 15 minutes making it. And then I take a bite, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I smell poop. And I look at like my freaking pinky finger on my hand, and there is a yellow poop. And I was so grossed out. I could not. And I was like, thank God my brain didn't be like, oh, that's egg. Lick it.
Oh, my gosh.
Because that could have been a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
or
it
mustard?
looked just
Did you
like...
put mustard on your stuff?
No. It was a
thank
breakfast sandwich, but it looked just like egg. And I just smelt like Arrow's poop. And I was like, where did this come from? And it took a minute to register. And I'm chewing. I spit it out.
I was crying.
I literally go throw away my whole sandwich. Obviously, I just can't even...
And Nicole's like, I can't eat anything like that now. I can't even have mustard because his poop looks like mustard.
Oh my gosh. And I washed my hands. That's the crazy thing is like, I thought I washed my hands and that's just saying that's disgusting. Like I clearly did not wash the side of my hand and I just got the hugest whiff and it totally ruined. I mean, I don't think I ate for hours after that, but Victor's sitting there laughing and laughing and laughing.
I couldn't stop.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just crazy because you know, he's our baby, right? So it's nasty, but it's not like you imagine if you had somebody else's poop on your finger.
No, it still was really gross though. Like, cause it got so close to my face and I was starving. Like I was so hungry and I took my time and Victor, I literally set out like a table, like a TV table tray.
But
like,
I guess, yeah, no, that was, I swear, I think I was.
It looked like yolk on my hand. So I mean.
Like dried yolk.
Yeah. And I'm so lucky I did not lick it.
What I was saying is like this, it would never be in the realm of possibilities that would happen in a normal day-to-day type of deal. At least the chances of it happening are really, really low. But now we change diapers because we have a baby, right? So regularly that obviously the chances of just getting poop on your finger or something or pee on you are increased exponentially. So it's not beyond a thing, but it was just so funny the way it happened. And that was the first time.
It's the only time that it's happened. And I literally was taking a bite and it got so close to my nose and I was like, I was thinking, you know what, though, and I put avocado on this sandwich, and I was like, God, that avocado stinks. Like, for a second, I thought it was avocado, and then I was still convinced, and then I looked at my hand, and I was like,
no.
My gosh. Like, I did not scrub my hands good enough. And I was in a hurry, I think, too, but I still... Yeah. So that just goes to show people don't probably wash their hands either as good as they're supposed to.
Speaking of which, completely changing topics, but baby, last time we podcast didn't have a baby. And we took a break because we were going to have a baby. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of want to dial back and go back to that point, right? And also, I completely skipped over. We need a suggestion name for this little segment that we want to start doing, right? So if you guys can send us suggestions in our DMs at the podcast or comment section, whatever it is, let us know what we should call it. Nicole was thinking like parent stories.
I was thinking parent probs.
Parent probs. Okay, that's good. Parent probs, or anything like that.
But I don't want it to come off I want it to come off like funny and relatable.
Yeah, not like a problem.
Not like, oh my gosh, this is such a problem. Like, so I kind of...
If that was such a problem for you, that'd be an issue. If you always got poop on your finger every time.
Oh, no, but I meant like, I don't want to seem like I'm complaining.
I know.
Because we're very lucky to be parents.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so I just want to put that out there that this is all in good fun. And if we complain, what's more like...
And if you don't like it, you just don't have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? So we didn't have a baby, and now we have a baby. And we kind of...
Victor's going to take us back to when I was, 37 weeks?
You're like 2 weeks to be, yeah, exactly. So by happenstance at that time, my sister with all her kids and, my parents now live in Puerto Rico. My sister was over there visiting. Everybody was over there. And they kept sending me pictures. And I didn't have, like any guy out there would know, I didn't have the guts to ask Nicole, be like, hey, is it okay if I go to Puerto Rico?
I really felt like, and I've never said this out loud, and it's probably not the place, but I felt like, gosh, why do they keep sending you photos? Like, I could tell you were sad, and like, I know that they were doing it, like,
because they're excited.
But also, I was like, oh no, like, kind of it was almost shoving it in your face without them knowing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I caught that hint for sure.
Out of pure excitement,
Yeah.
And so I keep getting all this stuff, and I just keep looking at these pictures, and I show Nicole because I'm happy for them, but at the same time I'm like, man, that sucks. Like, I wish I could be there. But Nicole is 37 weeks pregnant, right? I'm not just going to be like, hey, I'm going.
And I'm scheduled at 39 weeks to go in for a C-section. So
Exactly.
2 weeks. Yeah.
So then one day, I show, they send me a video like, oh, we miss you, Theo. We miss you. And they're all at the beach, and it's beautiful. And I show that to Nicole, and she's like, look, you should go. She's like, you should definitely go. Your family's not always there all together at the same time, right? Because we all live in different places. It's not like, Nicole's family here, everybody's here nearby. You can see them on any given day. And she said, but you have to go now, like this week, because he'll be in here this week, but I can't, next week.
Knows?
And when we get closer, it's even not a guarantee now. So on the last minute, I booked a flight and I left, and I went, and I was gone for
5 days.
About a week, just shy of a whole day or a whole week. And I had such a great time. And it was kind of perfect that it worked out that way. And it was the first time I visited my parents in Puerto Rico since they moved back. Mm-hmm. And so I saw how they did up the apartments in the house and everything. And I don't know, it was just nice to go there. And all I could think about the whole time is how much fun this is going to be because we're going to make that a yearly trip with Arrow and Nicole, and to meet my sister out there with my parents. And it's going to be so cool for him to experience that because it's so different from this.
Yeah.
Right? Not one's better than the other. They're just different. Mm-hmm. And you would otherwise not have that access to, because anybody can go to like the capital and stay in the tourist area. Yeah. But nobody can go into Hayuya. I mean, I guess you can, but you wouldn't know what you're doing. Going to the middle of the island and go to the rivers and the rainforest and all that stuff and hang out with like locals who are my family.
Mm-hmm. True.
So
it's going to be cool for sure.
I'm really excited about that. It's really, really cool. But anyway, then I came back. Everything was fine. Mm-hmm. And then we had to prepare for the C-section.
Yes. Now that I had Arrow, I definitely want to get back into eating healthy because essentially he is eating what I'm eating, right?
Yep.
So feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you to not just eat healthy, but truly enjoy it with chef-crafted, plant-rich meals that build a foundation for radiant health. Sakara is a nutrition company that focuses on overall wellness, starting with what you eat. Their organic, ready-to-eat meals are made with powerful plant-based ingredients and are designed to minimize your sugar cravings, boost your energy, and improve your digestion, and get your skin glowing.
Along with delicious plant-rich meals, Sakara also offers daily wellness essentials like supplements and herbal teas to support your nutrition. Experience their best-selling Metabolism Super Powder and Metabolism Super Bar to control sugar cravings, reduce bloating, boost energy, and reduce fatigue. And we tried it, and it really does all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Sakara has received rave reviews from Vogue, Goop, the New York Times, and more. Also, right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/Coco or enter code COCO at checkout.
That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/COCO to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/Coco. So the night before, I knew I was going in, but I didn't want to publicly say I was going in because then I didn't want in case something goes wrong, like, you just want to keep that to yourself.
Yeah, you want to be able to process it on your own.
Like if I didn't want to like tell anybody I had a baby for a week publicly, I didn't have to. So we did keep that to ourselves. But the night before, I was kind of like panicking a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then Victor and I signed up for a Hypno birthing class. So anybody out there who, is maybe looking for a birthing class that's more calming instead of educational, that would be hypnobirthing. And I really liked it, but Victor and I went through the motions of, okay, this is a calm environment, let's have a kind of like a safe word type thing.
Yeah, and not like a sex thing.
Oh God, is that what that means? I don't know what I'm saying right
pineapples. Now. Safe word, pineapples. No. It's Kevin Hart. No, but it's like a
calming word.
So they have the
comfort word.
Comfort word. So I guess to explain it, they have like a process that you go through, right? I sit behind Nicole, I rub her back. It gives you like the prompts of what to do. What are you going to do
the
next?
mindset to keep throughout the process.
Get yourself in the mindset. What music and
because you want to be calm, because then your baby can come out to a calm environment, which I never thought about. But they feel what you feel.
And so we went through, then they have like a mock birthing. So she'll talk you through the whole thing. And that, we turned the lights down, we did it. And then the funny thing with the comfort word, though, is we have never been like that with each other. Like, it reminds me of that, what's that movie with Adam Sandler and
Just Go With It.
Just Go With It. Yeah. And then like the other couple, Nicole Kidman, that other guy, they're looking at each other and they're like, your eyes, your passion, your drive, you know?
It's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, and so we've never done anything like that. So it was kind of funny to us.
We used to do that a lot as like a joke.
As a joke, right? So then when we're thinking of a word, what was the word that you...
I said love, and you were like, it was ruined.
So we're just looking at each other, and it says, say the word and like press on her shoulder firmly. In that
let her know you're there.
Let her know you're there, and it'll calm her. And then you can press harder and deeper, more calming, and you say the word again. So I'm looking at Nicole. This is the first time we ever did this. I look at Nicole, and I press on her shoulder, and I go, love.
I'm like, that one's ruined. We need a new one. Because then I kept laughing.
Which I guess, in a sense, it still works,
but
right?
Now it works, but for me, because with my anxiety, like if you joke around while I'm having anxiety, it makes it worse. Like I might as well just get out of the OR. You know,
in that,
in that situation, it did make me feel more comfortable.
The day before, when you were stressed out, it worked.
But that time we took it seriously.
Yeah, that time we did take it seriously.
We did not use the word at all during.
We
birth.
did not use we did. I did press on your shoulder though. I did one hard press on you, but I think you were so out of it, you probably didn't even feel it.
I mean, I don't know. I was very calm. So
you were very calm before I even got in there. I guess that skip to the next day. We got to be there at
5:30.
We have to be there at 5:30. So we wake up at 4:30. I have a million bags. I didn't know that we were going to take so much stuff. I should have brought a luggage suitcase and posted 5 separate little bags.
Right.
I guess I'd give that advice to a dad going, if your wife wants to pack, she'll pack a bunch of little bags because she won't realize it, or at least Nicole didn't. She's like, oh, I can fit this stuff. Oh, no, I got to bring this too. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, this is for the baby too. So I think it would be better to get one big luggage, right? And then you can put everything in there.
That's true.
Because I had to make 3 trips to the car, 3 or 4 trips to the car.
Holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, some of it was just stuff
Real quick, what was the best things that we brought for those? I think I brought my own pillow from home. That was super great. Victor brought a comforter.
Comforter was a big one for myself.
And a pillow for him because he had to kind of sleep on this
cot type deal. They had a TV in there. Depending on the hospital, will dictate how new or old the TV is.
It was really old.
But if they have Wi-Fi, you can bring a laptop, and that way you guys have something to watch. If you're just... Because after everything's done, you're just basically sitting in the room. They're monitoring, Nicole and making sure she's okay. And then you're taking care of the baby, and they're checking the baby, making sure they're okay. So there's a lot of downtime.
I used that little fan. Victor bought a little fan off Amazon that hooks onto. It was really, really hot after I gave birth, and I had a C-section. But those of you pushing, having a vaginal delivery, you definitely probably want that during. But I used it after. Man, I was dripping sweat.
Well, and tell them why.
Because it's normal for you to get rid of the extra fluid in your body by sweating it out when you sleep, which I didn't know, but I was waking up drenched.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't know that either. I mean, Nicole she didn't find that out until we got home.
I Googled it. I was like, am I sick?
Well, because I would lay next to Nicole in bed and I'd be like, oh my God, your leg is wet and hot. I had to put the blanket between us.
You would hand me the baby. Sometimes you'd be like, "Oh my God!"
Oh yeah, exactly.
It was just weird. It still happens, but not as bad.
Snacks are a good one to bring. And I got advice from people when I was asking on my social media.
Oh yeah.
And it said Nicole was really good about it. She didn't mind if I ate in the room because I was going to leave the room. But they say sometimes your wife or significant other, they can't eat or anything, solids for maybe a day or so until their intestines go back to normal. Right, so you're hungry. So maybe eat in the hallway, which I tried to do, but Nicole was really good about letting me eat in the room. I can't think of.
I think we didn't really use much. So that would be like what we would say, I guess. And the hospital has quite a bit of stuff, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can't.
Nothing crazy.
We overpacked, which is not an issue, but you can definitely you can minimize how much you have to take in there.
And so many people told me, like, you really don't need much. And I'm like, yes, I do. But I didn't. Anyways, we get to the hospital at 5:30. Everything's great. The doctor's going to come in at 7 to make sure that Arrow is still breech. If he's not breech, we literally go home, which is crazy. So at this point, I'm mentally prepared to have my baby today. It's July 23rd. I'm like, yes, we're going to have him. And he comes in, he's still breech. I'm like relieved. Thank goodness.
Yep.
Surgery is supposed to be in like 30 minutes. I'm like, this is getting real.
Yeah, they come in.
Anesthesiologist comes in, asks me a couple questions, which I've never had anesthesia up to this point. So I'm very nervous. This is my first surgery. I've even avoided wisdom teeth surgery because I'm so terrified of it. But then...
And we learned that they do the spinal tap was what you were going to get.
Yep.
It's based on height, not on weight.
Totally.
And I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, which seems
surprising.
It seems kind of weird because, like, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, I'm like, get my height right. Because otherwise I was paranoid, get my weight right. Like,
well, it's different. Like, because I imagine, a person, let's say, two people that are 5'4", for example.
Yeah, there's a 100-pound difference.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, but it's the same. I don't know.
I guess it's kind of...
Maybe it's just because of the length of the spine is what they're
is.
doing it based on, basically trying to numb you from the chest down.
Yeah, and Victor's getting all scrubbed up at this point. He's allowed to go in. He's the only one allowed in the hospital because this is a COVID baby. So
at all. So her parents can't even be, for example, in the lobby of the hospital to see the baby.
My mom was in the parking lot, though, in the car because she just felt like, oh my gosh, like my daughter's about to have her first surgery. My grandbaby's about to be born and I can't be there. But so she was technically like there just waiting for Victor's call of... Is
all
everything
good.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I kind of said, well, wait in the parking lot because if they take the baby maybe to the city, because the closest NICU would be like an hour and a half away, you can follow them to the NICU at least. Victor will go with the baby and I'll be in Bad Axe still. So it was a very kind of like scary situation not knowing. The baby was very healthy and as far as we knew he was going to be healthy, but you never know.
Yeah, exactly. And the not to, knock on the hospital that we stayed at. It's a nice hospital, but they don't have all the resources that you need.
No.
They didn't have a NICU there. So
No.
if any little thing went wrong, they might have to helicopter them out, right? So that was the only scare for us.
I'd be separated with my baby, and especially with the COVID situation, and then Victor would have to choose, and obviously I'd want him to choose the baby, and then I would have to wait to be released to go see him, and but we were prepared for the worst case scenario because you have to be. For me, anyways, I have to be prepared in case it were to happen. So Victor's scrubbing up, and they take me down. And they say, Victor, you'll come in about like 10 minutes when Nicole's ready, when we're ready to make the incision. Yeah. So I'm getting wheeled down. And up to this point, I was very calm. The doctor was like, oh my gosh, Nicole, you're more calm today than you are when you're in the office. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just like at peace with this whole thing. Right when I get in the OR, tears just start falling, but I'm too like... It wasn't almost like a panic attack. It was just like I was scared for my life. I see the bright lights. I see everybody standing around me. Like, I don't know. It felt like, all right, I'm about to go to heaven or something. It was very weird. And the nurses were really comforting. They're like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Let's put you on the table. And next step is straddling the operation table, going to put my spinal in. I'm hugging a pillow, curving my back. And the anesthesiologist is like, oh, you got a nice back. I'm like, awesome. She gets it on the first try immediately. My legs go numb. They literally lift my legs up.
That's so scary.
They say, hey, Nicole, we're about to put in your catheter. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I can't feel anything. So they put in my catheter. It's in. The doctor comes in. They drape me, get all ready. He's apparently pinching my stomach very, very hard. He's like, can you feel this? I'm like, no. They're like, you can't feel it at all? I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, she's good. And then I say, wait, can Victor come in? Because I swear, like, the scalpel's in his hand. And they're like, oh, yeah, get Victor. Victor comes to my shoulder. And then Vic has a better point of view at this point, but I think they're making the incision. Yeah.
I get in there. They're starting to do the incision. I'm looking at Nicole. She seems like she's with it, but a little out of it, right? Like if you... like
My
at the end of a
anxiety-
long
yeah.
drinking night, and you see the person, their eyes are kind of like watery, you know, and they know who you are and what you're doing, but they're kind of like out of it. That's how she was.
I felt like I was kind of floating.
Yeah.
And like I knew everything that was going on, but I just felt no need to speak. Like I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, my mind's working, I'm thinking. And anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm recording the whole thing, but yeah, basically they and I look over because Nicole's draped, so she can't see down at her stomach, and I see they do the incision, a leg comes out, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a leg, right? And then he gets another leg, and then he just pulls him out like it's nothing, boom, sits
And I
him
remember
up.
at this point I was very, very with it, but in my head I'm like, why is he not crying? Why is he not crying? And I said, why is he not crying? Like out loud, finally. And a C-section baby, just for those of you who maybe are going through C-section for the first time and don't know, they have to really suction your baby out. There's a lot of
yeah.
fluid that doesn't get squeezed out of them as if they were coming through the vaginal canal. And so once they suction him, then he can breathe the air.
Yep, and
So
then-
it takes just another, and they kind of got to pat him around because if you think about it, he's minding his own business in my stomach, doing his thing, like floating around, and you're just literally like taking him out of his world and expecting him, he's learning to breathe for the first time. So once I heard that cry, I was like, thank God.
Yeah, and then they pull him up, they show him to Nicole and I.
And he had his eyes open, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, his eyes are open.
They goop his eyes with this ointment thing to help his eyes. And they cut the cord. Then they take him to like the heater and they start wiping him down. And then that's when I go over there, and it's right next to Nicole, so it's kind of perfect. So
Yeah, I
she
can
can see
see
what I'm doing with the
everything.
baby. And then I cut the rest of the umbilical cord. And then they clean him up, and then me and the baby go into the.
And Victor, I gotta tell him, Victor was like, well, no, Victor's like, Nicole, he's so cute. Our baby is so cute. He's like, some babies aren't cute, but ours is so cute. I think everyone thinks that their baby's super cute, but it's funny, like seeing a baby first come out because they just like they're like this like little wrinkly being that's
I know.
that's like. Anyways, it was really. I was just like.
I thought you were going to
smiling.
say what the actual other thing that I
I
said.
don't know if you should say that.
Well, just so people know, right? This is
Okay.
let's just say for the educational
right.
nature of this. I look at him and I'm like, oh my gosh, he has huge balls, right?
He screams this in the OR. I'm like,
And-
what is going on?
Everybody laughs, but then the nurse there, she's like, yeah, that Nicole looks over, is like, yeah, they are big. And it's like, something wrong? And the nurse says, no, when, they're born, they have a lot of fluid in their sacs still, right, from
Yeah.
being inside the womb. And so over time, that fluid will
Go to their
excrete,
body.
right? It'll dissipate out of his testicles, and then he'll look normal. So that was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense than
Yeah,
just...
because in comparison to his body, but
Yeah.
it's normal. No one warned us about that. So we were just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But anyways, then they go back to Victor follows the baby.
Mm-hmm.
They
The pediatrician checks him out. They get his weight.
and they're
his
at this
length.
time they're
Stitching
putting me
you
back
back up.
together.
Yeah.
The whole surgery took 20 minutes.
It was crazy, but-
crazy, amazing,
Like
fast.
leaving, and I'd say, let's say 25, if any, max 30. Nicole leaving the room, wheeled out, surgery, wheeled back into the room, 30 minutes or less.
Isn't that insane?
That is bizarre to
And
me.
then the baby I got to see the baby and he latched immediately. So that was really great for our bonding and for breastfeeding because I didn't have to go into a recovery for 2 hours. And yeah, it was so cool, but it was so surreal. At this point, I'm thinking, holy cow, like I have a baby. And
We're doing a lot of skin to skin.
a lot of skin to skin.
And so Nicole's breastfeeding for a little bit, and then I have to change his diaper for the first time. And I'm like, I've never, honestly, I think I've only changed like one diaper in my life before that point. But I'm like, I got this. No big deal. So I take his diaper off, and it's like black. Like it looks like tar is in his diaper. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Because nobody warns you. I mean, nobody told me that his first set of bowels are just going to be black stuff that's excreted from his body because
Right.
now he's doing it all on his own, right? So, and as I'm doing that, he starts pooping more, and it looks like a bubble. It's like a black tar bubble
I
coming
have
out of
this
his
on
butt.
video. It's so funny.
And I'm like, okay, I need help. I was like, Nicole, hit the button, the nurse button thing.
Call
And the nurse is like, hello, hi, how can I help you? And I was like, there's shit. I mean, I need help. There's shit everywhere. And she's like, oh, okay. And they came in, and it was fine. And then I was able to do it, after that. But it was just shocking, right? If you've never been in that situation, it's like, oh, okay, well, now I know.
Totally. And it was like that for like a couple days, right? At least for the first day.
Yeah. For
Victor did a lot of with a C-section, I couldn't really move. I mean, they made me get up and walk around and stuff after like 6 hours, but I couldn't get up every time I needed a diaper change.
You couldn't even laugh. I couldn't even tell you jokes or anything.
I was crying because I said, stop making me laugh. It hurt so bad.
It's not like I'm not trying to be like crack jokes, but I would say
no.
something like make
funny.
fun of something fast or, just a little sly comment. And Nicole would be like, oh my God, you got to stop. I can't. She's like, I can't laugh. It hurts. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Because what's surprising is, well, I think my mom said she was like on morphine pump. And I think my Aunt Tiff said that too, that they got like this pump where I got freaking Toradol. Like I got a shot of Toradol and then I'm on like freaking ibuprofen. I'm like, oh, I just had a major like surgery and cut. This is not working.
Yeah, that was that seemed a little and then weird to me.
They like push on your fundus and everything, and that hurts so bad. And
what's your fundus?
I think that's like they have to make sure our uterus doesn't like bleed out, so they're like pushing it down. But I mean, they're like that hurt more than
and they have
anything else.
And I guess it makes sense, but when they're doing the C-section, they got to move your intestines around.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And then so the intestines have to resettle, and that's why they don't let you eat any solids because they have to make sure you start passing bowels to make sure everything's working and you're not just backed up.
Well, and so once you start passing gas and you're allowed to eat. So I was like passing gas, like thank God. And I was like, Vic, I'm not eating Jell-O for the third time today. So my friend Jacqueline brought us food from her restaurant and I like ate it.
Yep.
And like I asked for like forgiveness more than permission after I ate it because I was like, I'm starving. And I knew like I was fine. Thank God I was. But I was like, I need to eat something. And it was better than I think what they were trying to give me anyway.
And you know what I liked about being in the hospital, a little off track here, but we're new parents. I'd venture to say we didn't know anything that we're doing, just kind of, going with the flow, right?
Totally.
Is he hungry? Do we got to change him? Whatever. Just having that reassurance that you can just tap this button and the all-knowing nurse will come in and make everything better, right?
Or have some information.
Because that was for you, that was for Nicole, her biggest fear was because we could have been in the hospital for another, I think, 2 days if we wanted to. But no other family, just us two, right? It was great bonding with the baby. But by the end of the second day, like, we were good to go.
And
right?
I would say that it was awesome, just us three. Like, I would have loved my parents to be able to come in and my brother to meet him and everything, for sure. But us having a whole, if we just had 5 hours together.
Yeah.
Bonding, I would recommend that to anybody.
So I'll tell this right now to anybody listening that has to convince their in-laws, or if the in-law is listening because they have a child coming or, daughter, son's having a baby, do them a favor and wait. Right. I know you want to be there, and you can definitely, if they want you in the operating room, absolutely, but give them that time to do that bonding with their baby, right? This is just so you know. It happened to us on a whim, but if you have the option.
Yeah, we didn't have the option.
Give them an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to have that one-on-one, mom, dad, kid, or, dad, kid, mom, kid, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Give them that time to bond because that's so important. And for us, it was like, chaos was done. It was just us three in the room for, a good amount of time. And it was just so great. So just if you're in-laws, you're hearing this and you might not want to hear it.
Not even in-laws, grandparents. So
grandparents,
I'm saying like
whatever.
For me, it's not my in-laws.
Well,
it's my
whoever.
parents.
You get what I'm saying. Parents, in-laws, cousin, uncle, brother, whatever.
I'd say 3 hours would be good even. Like give them 3 hours.
Yeah. Give them 3 hours.
Because, like, 2 days was too much. Like, the second day, we were like, oh, my gosh.
At the end of the first day,
let's get the
it would have been fine, you know.
And I had the extreme guilt, so I didn't know that we could stay for 2 more days, and then until we were, like, leaving. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you can stay 2 more days if you want. And then it was such a hard decision for me because I was like, well, I really want my parents to meet him, but I don't know if we're ready to go home. Like, but I'm freaking going nuts in here because... I don't know. You're just not at home. Yeah. It's different. It's hard. And
he's not as comfortable.
No. And I feel like I'm just laying in the bed and I don't know.
And so skip 2, we do come home.
Yeah.
And I think we're so nervous to make sure everything's perfect all the time with him.
And he was only, we didn't say his weight. He was born at 6 pounds, 15 ounces. But he came home at 6 pounds, 6 ounces because they always lose a little bit of weight in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So he's teeny.
Yeah, he's teeny. He's a little thing. And we're so new at this that we're taking, everything's new, but we're taking basically, we're up 24 hours. Like we're taking shifts as best we can.
I thought you were going to talk about even when we first got home, I was like, crying.
Oh yeah,
my hormones were whacked, and people were warning me about this, especially with the breastfeeding thing. And they just said your hormones are going to be crazy, and I'm like, I'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, like I just started like bawling, and I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. Like, what did I do? Because I care about this human so much that I feel like I'm never ever going to be able to close my eyes and sleep again, like in my whole life. That's how much pressure I was putting on myself. And I'm like, Victor, we don't freaking know anything. Like, it felt so weird. So anyways, I just want to say if you have a breakdown within the first 24 hours of being home, I think that's super normal. Mm-hmm. I talked to my friends about it. They did as well. And it's scary. It's very, very scary because you can't, like, control everything.
Yep. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I just want to put that out there.
And if it persists longer than that, and it can be postpartum depression. Totally. I mean, that's a thing. Mm-hmm. Talk to somebody, get the help that you need. Don't be ashamed or feel bad that that's happening to you because it's a normal thing.
And there's nothing you can do to help it.
Exactly. And like she said,
and I watched for it because I do have anxiety. Mm-hmm. So that's usually someone who would suffer from it more often. And luckily, like, I've been okay so far, but it can hit you at any time. Like, I'm always aware, and if I do get that, I will be very open and honest with you guys. But I did have a freak out, like, I think 2 or 3 times.
Well, and then, so that's what stemmed us being awake. I mean, I think for, like, the first week, almost, but we got to the end of the first week.
I still can't believe we did that.
Pretty much awake 24 hours a day. And we'd do, like, at the night, it'd be like 2-hour or 4-hour shifts. Like, okay, now you're going to get him till 2 in the morning, and then we'll switch, and then I'll have him till 6, and then you're up. And then, so we did that. I mean, we're like zombies.
I think we did that for almost 2 weeks, Victor.
Really? Whatever it was, I remember telling Nicole, I was like, we can't sustain this. This is not sustainable, not for our health, not for safety or anything.
And we were never, like, up at the same time. So,
no.
So, like, we weren't communicating with an adult ever.
We're like roommates. That's what we were, like roommates taking care of this, our baby. And so I finally... because we couldn't get him on a sleep schedule, or we were too timid to put him down and leave him, and having him sleep.
You're really not supposed to put down a newborn.
Yeah,
you're not. But so
for your sanity, it's okay if you need to. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, it's okay if you need to put him down for your own health, right? So
I understand.
So I told that to Nicole, and so after, I guess a couple weeks, we started feeling more comfortable trying to lay him down, and I think it was one night. I had to be up. I think it was like my shift was like 4 a.m. to like 8 a.m, something like that. And Nicole had purchased this sleep guide. I can't remember what it was called.
What it was? It's Taking Care of Babies.
Taking Care of Babies. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Remember, because the girl's name's Kara.
Yeah.
So it's
Taking
like a play
Care of Babies.
It's like a play on words. I just saw it online and I was like, dude, I'm purchasing this.
It's actually really good. Nicole actually never read it or did the courses. But that one night that I had to stay up, I was like, we can't do this anymore, and this is hopefully the way to stop it. So I And that time I did it's like a class, basically. You go through, you read the slides, it has videos and everything. So in the middle of the night, I'm on my phone because I don't want to turn on the TV because I don't want to wake them up. I don't want to turn the lights. So I just got my phone like dimmed down. I'm like reading all these slides and listening to these videos of how to properly or effectively put your baby in a calm state and have him fall asleep on his own and all the tips and tricks. And I started doing that. It worked sometimes, right? Sometimes it didn't. I mean, but it was a hit and miss. But now, I think doing that from early on as practice and doing it now, like, I'm not saying it works 100% of the time to put him down, but at least he can fall asleep on his own sometimes, which some babies have a hard time.
The last 3 days he's been amazing. But when Victor first started this class, the first 2 days, there was success with it. The next month, no success. I'll be honest, no success at all with it. But he is really young and almost too young to be able to understand what we're doing. So 4 weeks old, I think Vic said it said that he doesn't comprehend a schedule, a routine.
Before the 4 weeks, they say you do it as practice, right?
Yeah, and he was not
if it works,
into
it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you're doing it, so you're getting used to doing it, and he'll get something out of it, but not the full, whatever. But anyway, that's when we kind of started saying, all right, we're going to have to start trying to lay him down.
We knew this was getting dangerous because we were so tired on our shifts that we would close our eyes for a couple seconds and I would be like, whoa, like, this isn't good.
Like, I'm falling asleep with him.
We need to figure something else out. But it's crazy thinking back now, even just him being 6 weeks old and thinking, oh my God, did we really stay up 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. But our next baby, will we? No, we absolutely will not. But I think you kind of got to go through that on your own until you feel comfortable because and we also have the Owlette, which is really awesome.
This isn't an ad, but that thing is amazing. You can tell them about it.
Yeah, it's just this little sock that he wears on his foot, and it tells you his oxygen and heart rate throughout whenever he's wearing it, and it will alert you if something's wrong. So it's very comforting because it's like a siren if there's something wrong.
And we have a camera with it too. It's all on the same app. So when you open the app, you could see him from the camera, and then right on there it tells you the heart rate and the oxygen level. So perfect.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't do without it. But I guess if I had to do without it and didn't know about it, I would. But now, oh my gosh.
That makes me think sometimes about back in the day when you don't have that, or like your grandma or my great grandma, like 19 kids, 15 kids, like. Because
I asked the pediatrician at his last visit. I said, the reason I have him wear that Owlette is because if he were in an episode of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, can I stop it? And he said yes. He said, because this thing will alert me if his oxygen gets lower than 80%. Because what SIDS is they just stop breathing. Their brain tells them, like, oh, I don't need to breathe. And they stop breathing. So I just said, like, if there's no point in him wearing it if I can't do anything about that. Or if, say, a blanket gets over his face, it would alert me, like, if his oxygen's dropping.
Yeah.
And that's why it's comforting. But anyways, he said, yeah, if your baby... if you're getting an alert and it looks like, wow, the baby is low on oxygen because things are turning blue and purple, just hit their feet, hit their back, stimulate the crap out of them, remind them to breathe, and you can potentially save their life. I mean, it does happen rather quickly. He said if your baby stops breathing for 4 minutes and there's no brain activity at that point, it's really difficult to, bring anybody back after 4 minutes. But this would...
it's just another tool that can help you.
That can help you because in the night you don't know that. You're going to wake up every 5 minutes and like see their chest rise. That's what I would do. Do you know that I did that with my animals before I had a baby? Imagine how I would be with a baby. Like I still, when he's wearing his Owlette, I still check on making sure his chest is rising. I'm still checking, like, because sometimes he's just sleeping so good. I'm like, I just need to go. And I see the vitals right in front of my face, but I'm like, I'm going to go check just to make sure. So this is for anybody who's a little bit more of a worried parent. Oh my gosh, I love it. And I could not recommend it enough. And no, we're not getting paid to say this. Yeah. And a couple other things that we found super helpful were a weighted swaddle. He hated being swaddled at first. Somebody messaged me, and this is how I found it. It's called a Zen Swaddle. They're from, I don't know, if you Google Zen Swaddle, they'll pop up and it's on a site, but they're weighted on their chest and on their arms, and it feels like he's being hugged. So those are the only swaddles that our little baby will use.
We ended up buying like 3 or 4 of them.
And they're kind of they're a little expensive.
Yeah, they're a little on the expensive
it.
side, but it was worth it.
And I'd say those 2 things have really helped him and us. And then the hatch. The hatch is really great. He sleeps to the sound of rain.
Yep.
And what's really funny is when we were driving to a restaurant one time, and it started pouring outside, and my friend Mariah was with us, and he like fell asleep like instantly. She goes, "Oh my God, he fell asleep that quick." And I said, "Oh my God, that's so funny. His white noise sound is rain." So like literally put him to sleep. But those have helped us tremendously with his sleeping schedule. Absolutely.
Yeah. And now, I mean, everything, they say everything gets easier, and in a sense it has been, because he's adapting more to the environment that he's in. Mm-hmm. And it's also cool to see him, learn things, just little things that, you would, if it's not your child, you wouldn't even notice it, right?
Totally.
Because it's so small. But something else that helped, so he goes to the chiropractor. We get him.
Yeah, he does.
And it's cool because she adjusts him, but it's not her doing the adjustments. So, for example, she'll put her finger and add some pressure to his hip, for example. Mm-hmm. And then when he moves, he ends up adjusting himself, right? And she also told us about this app called the Wonder Weeks. Mm-hmm. And I downloaded the app and I looked at it. And basically, in a newborn's life or in a baby's life, there's certain leaps, big changes that he makes at certain times while his brain is developing. For example, and it starts from when his due date was. Yep. And so he just had this first leap a few days ago, and it's sensations, right? So in this sensations leap, his brain is developing now so he can see contrasts, right? He's very fascinated with the contrasting colors, and so they recommend you, hold him in a room and just have him look at certain things. And in any given room, no matter where you are, you could sit down where you are right now and look around. There's a lot of things that we don't notice day to day because we're so used to it. But if you look, like I'm looking at, this coat rack, and then you got the purple contrasting with the black jacket behind it, or the green flower contrasting, with those sandals or all these shoes. And so he'll look at that stuff, and for him, it'll be like sensation overload. Like, whoa, wow, I can see that now. Also touch, like him feeling stuff or hearing stuff, It
says that they develop a favorite sense at this point. So whether it's listening or whether it's touch feeling or whether it's seeing, like he'll really focus on one of his favorite sense. So it's kind of cool. I wonder, he kind of does sit back and listen quite a bit and observe.
Yep. They say also talk to him, right? And like tell him a story or tell him about your day, tell him anything. And as you're talking to them, if they turn their head away from you, that's them wanting kind of to process, like, okay, stop talking. He'll be processing. And then when he looks back at you, well, now keep talking again, right? Or talk to him and stop and let him respond to you, like if he's talking to you. And it's like, oh, now we're having a conversation, right? So
he can smile now.
It's really cool. And the circumference of his head, so the head grows in spurts. So
you
his
just
head
literally wake up one day and it's
his
just
head's
way
just
bigger.
Right? So the app will tell you when, like the countdown, because you'll put in your baby's information, and it'll give you the countdown of when this leap is going to happen.
It's $3.99, right?
Yeah, it's like $4 for the app.
So it's definitely only a one-time fee, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great. We both bought it.
And also your baby will get fussy before you get into the sleep, so it'll tell you how fussy.
Arrow was really had a couple days where he just, I didn't know what was going on, but it was because he was going through this. And so how they explain it is, imagine you're just getting accustomed to a brand new world, and then everything changes on you again. So now you wake up, he's waking up, and he's like, whoa, things look different. Things feel different. I can hear things differently. And so now he's like, crap, I'm cranky, and I'm clinging to what I know, which would be his favorite people. And so if that's why he's more clingy or not sleeping as much, that's exactly why. And it makes you feel better, because my first thought is he sick?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it'll tell you all that stuff. And anyway, it's really cool. And if I look now, I'll know what his next leap, when it is, the countdown to it, and I can read all the information about it and how to better help him develop, like things to do with him or for him.
And it's cool because it also gives you videos that say, okay, you can experience what he's experiencing. Watch this video. This is how the baby sees the world. This is how you see the world. And so that's really interesting as well, because it's kind of hard to understand sometimes. Like, I'm like, wait, what do you mean contrast? Like, I don't really understand what that means. But then I watch the video and it's like, okay, you can see like this dog with all these colors, but he sees like this black and white. Like, it makes more sense when you're watching the video, because I'm like, wait, what does that mean?
Yeah, we see like whiskers and nostril dimples and all these eyelashes. All he sees is black and white dog, just those two colors,
like the two spots. Yeah.
That's really
so
interesting.
it is. And a lot of people were wondering how our puppies are accommodating to him. Oh my gosh, they love him. And I was so worried because, they're 12 years old. They're stuck in their ways. They're little old ladies, but they want to protect him and they love him.
They're super chill around him.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm very surprised. Actually,
they can tell that he's mine for sure.
They want to be close to him, but they don't want to touch him. That's how.
But they don't want anyone else to touch him either.
Exactly. So it's kind of funny because some dogs, they'll go up and lick the dog and they'll like Beyonce especially. She's like the bigger one, more mom like. She'll get close and she'll
big one.
Like
she's
if you're holding him, no matter where you are, she'll run up to you and just kind of like stay like a foot away from you and kind of look and maybe sniff. And she's like, okay,
she'll lay down and she'll guard you.
Yeah, she'll be like, all right, we're good here. Everything's fine.
And it's funny because now he weighs more than both of them. And it's like when he was first born, I'm like, you're not the baby anymore. Or you're not the baby anymore. And now I'm like, okay, you guys are still the babies, because he's already almost 11 pounds. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
He's growing fast. But we plan on sharing our parenting. We have so many stories to share with you guys. And we're so excited for the past 6 weeks. We've been learning, we've been growing, and we've been taking notes of it all. So we're excited to share it with you. And any questions that you have, this is all new for us.
Yep.
And so we're just pumped. This is going to be Coco Caliente. It might sound a little different. Hopefully you still like it. And we still have our humor, right?
Yeah, I think we're still funny.
I don't know. You guys can tell us, but.
But thank you guys. We hope you guys enjoyed this edition, catching up with us. And now we should be up to date. Moving forward, it'll be what's going on in our life with baby Arrow and what we got in store for you guys should be fun. So please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. The easiest way is on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a review there for us, 5 stars, please.
Yeah.
And you can listen to this. You can tell people anywhere they listen to their podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. Or you can always go to www.cococalientepodcast.com. You can listen there. And we'll probably add some merch for Arrow because we can't leave them out now.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah, little baby
we can
Coco
do some funny things with that.
Little bean.
Yeah.
Coffee bean.
Oh, yeah. That's cute.
So anyway, I know that's something Nicole will probably start working on now, so stay tuned for that. We hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, I almost forgot.
What?
Don't forget to follow us at Coco Caliente Pod on Twitter and at Coco Caliente Podcast on Instagram. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy Podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy Podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy Podcast on your podcast app.